10:30. Give her as much time as she needs.
Okay.
Okay. Recording started.
Wonderful. Welcome, everyone. We are so thankful that you woke up this morning to attend Awaken, moving from tolerance to understanding. I am your MC, Sheila Davis Wiley. I am the Vice President of Education of Epic Orders Advanced Toastmasters. And I, along with President Perrin Shannon and the rest of the Epic Orders on this Zoom meeting, would like to thank District 44 for this opportunity to present one of our charter members and stellar performers, none other than Teresa Sprawling. If you will, just go with me for one moment back to last spring, when we all witnessed the cruel killing of George Floyd. That projected a glaring light on racial inequality. This wasn't the first visit, because we all know about what happened in the 50s and the 60s, but there was a conversation that got started. Even though we were all sequestered in some form or fashion, the conversation grew louder, longer, and yes, a bit harder. Now, people are talking, and that's a good thing. But there is a why and a how people are talking about race that's very important. Our presenter today is past District Governor Teresa Sprawling, who was the District Governor of District 14 from 2009 to 2010. Her theme was Empowered to Succeed. And I want you to keep that in mind, because by the time you finish hearing this presentation, you'll understand why she is empowered to succeed. Not only is Teresa a charter member of Epic Orders Advanced Toastmasters, she currently serves as the Chief of Staff for AT&T's Chief Diversity and Development Office. Now, Teresa is responsible for helping to create and maintain an inclusive work environment for over 200,000 employees across the globe. It's during these challenging times of civil unrest, political divides, and protests that we find ourselves in a strange place of uncertainty. Everyone's emotions seem to be running high, and our patience is running low. Teresa has developed a unique approach to engaging in much needed conversations about race that will help us better understand each other and move us from a place of simply tolerating each other to better understanding each other. So I want everyone to help me welcome past District Governor, upcoming author. You know that there's a book in this, right? As well as boss lady and someone who I consider not only a fellow Epic Order, but a friend indeed, my sister, Teresa Sprawling.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What a great introduction. I'm hoping I can live up to it. I will make a disclaimer now. While I love my day job, I am the Chief of Staff for AT&T. This is not about AT&T, it's about me as an individual. If you have our service, thank you, but I'm not here to promote AT&T. I'm here to share, though, some important lessons that I've learned as a result of the training that I have certainly acquired from AT&T, along with my life experiences. I, like you, many of you, I don't know, I still am looking for the adjective that would adequately describe how I felt when I witnessed a human being's life being kneed from him. Knee on neck, dead. I'm a proud professional, I'm a proud mother, I'm a proud sister, I'm a proud grandmother. And it was very difficult for me to have that conversation with my family to say, is that okay? And inside my soul, I knew that was not okay. And I also knew there were people like me, like you, who knew that was not okay. And then my spirit says, what can I go do about it? Well, one thing for sure, Toastmasters International gave me something that I already knew I had in it, but it helped me orchestrate it. I have a voice. Find a way or make a way. And so, what do we in Toastmasters do best? We talk. And so, today, we're going to talk about stuff most people avoid. So, I'm going to thank you in advance for being bold enough and wise enough to lean in. This is not about me winning a speech contest. This is not about you counting my ers and ahs, although somebody will be counting them and will letting me know just how well I did today. This is about us taking advantage of an amazing learning experience. And this is where I know if there was any better audience on the planet who could embrace this and excel in carrying the torch, it would be this Toastmasters audience. So thank you for your time this morning. If you're here in Georgia, it is a rainy day in Georgia. So I thank you for choosing to spend these next few minutes with us to learn something new and perhaps not, to lean in on something you already knew about, and we'll learn more about it. So this is not where you get to hear just me talk. I will set this up real quickly and then we'll jump in. This is a two-part series. We are basically just starting the conversation today, okay? And so we're gonna let it happen organically. I have some information to share. I'm gonna want your reaction. And so I'm gonna ask that you feel free to engage in that as that time comes. And then we'll also save time in the end for Q&A. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yes.
All right, excellent. So with that, I do have a presentation. You know, you cannot come to a meeting without a presentation. So let's do this. Let me make sure. Bear with me here. Okay, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Did I lose you all together? Hold tight, everybody. And you know, I practiced this many times, but at the end of the day, Mr. Murphy shows up and it's okay. We're gonna be okay. All right.
Here it comes.
Okay, thank you. You know, Mr. Murphy, that's a mantra I used back when I was district governor for Toastmasters of Georgia. Mr. Murphy, and I give him respect. He is a Mr. because he invites himself to the most important parties. But what we learn as Toastmasters, we never let him take over. So here we go. All right, so today, if you're in the right place, if you sign up to lean in to Awaken. And today's conversation will be about moving from tolerance to understanding. And this is going to give you an opportunity to just simply talk. And after this, I'm going to give you some homework. And in 2 weeks, we're going to come back and we're going to do some more talking. That's the setup. I am going to lean in real quickly because I'm going to change this to a more serious note. I genuinely want to know how each of you are really feeling today about the current state of this nation, this world, the current state of events. I mean, I started this dialogue when I again witnessed on live television human beings' life being snuffed away. 8 minutes and 46 seconds gave me enough time to know that that was not right in my spirit. And it moved me in such a way that I had to silence myself to find the right words on what I was feeling and acknowledge it, because you can't fix what you can't acknowledge. So I'm curious this morning, how are you feeling about the recent events, not just the George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, January 6th, the insurrection, all of this stuff is happening, COVID. We all are right now sequestered in our homes. We're fighting an enemy that we really can't see. So let me just pause a minute as we engage in some real talk today. How are you really feeling? Let's go on and share. I guess you can use chat to share how you're really feeling, and then we'll engage further.
Oh, they're coming in. Not hopeless and not resigned. Everything else on the list. Phyllis says hopeful and motivated. Beth says frustrated, embarrassed, and disappointed in humanity. Worried and fearful, feeling all of the above, though perhaps the strongest is frustrated and challenged. Hopeful for deliverance and comeuppance. Somebody else says exhausted and hopeful. Mary David says frustrated, sad, and angry, uneasy. Sad, exhausted, yet hopeful. Octavia says very hopeful. Deborah says angry, tired of things not changing, and motivated to move. Hopeful but questioning, a bit frustrated. There's a lot of frustration out there, Teresa. Frustrated but optimistic, exhausted, confused, and questioning. Thank you, everybody, for sharing.
Wow, thank you all for that. And so you see, I have about 15 or 20 so words up, and you're exhausted, you're confused, and you still have a lot of questions. In fact, I too share that. I have more questions than I have answers. And yes, it's frustrating, and it is a time to be sad. And many of us are still confused because this is happening just right before our eyes, and we don't know what to do about it. And we, as Toastmasters, are about solving problems, right? We're about doing things, fixing things, making it better. But when you find that you're questioning what's really happening, what I'm loving here, Jan Youngers has said he's frustrated, which I certainly understand firsthand, but yet optimistic. Jan, that's the spirit. That's where I am. I was mad as hell when I saw all of this happen to start with. I was mad. Then I got really frustrated with myself for even getting mad because I should know better. And then what also happened, I became optimistic because I believe that what I saw did not represent the rest of us. So we have something to be optimistic about. Let me also ask, while you see these numbers, these the adjectives at the bottom, asking how you're feeling, what's not on there? How else? Anything on there that comes to mind that's not there, that perhaps should be? Because I'm happy to modify this, and I will qualify this by telling you this is a work in progress. Thank you, Beth, for being motivated. Who did say, Mary David, thank you for being prayerful. I too believe in a higher power, and I know I cannot walk without that. Oh my goodness, Hizzy, you're tired? Me too, my beautiful sister, me too. Oh, Donna, that's why I'm glad you're here. You're defeated, you're feeling defeated right now. And that's certainly understandable. But as you engage in this dialogue, it's going to help us know that you still have some power. And the power is where, and what Toastmasters made us aware, our voice. And so what we're going to walk through are some steps on giving you some more, helping you get your power back, where
Teresa,
you talk through some of this.
Teresa, Ruby said
Yes.
grieving. Let's not forget about all of the deaths that has happened this past year.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. That's for the sorrow. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. It's crazy. And Robert, useless. Oh my. Yeah. Okay. And so now you see why it was important for me to ask you that question. I don't know if anybody stopped to ask you, but I wanted to be that one today if nobody did. I love it. I'm trying to read real fast, Cole. Hey, Monica, read. Let's stop and read Cole's. Let's say that out loud. I get what he said because
Simultaneously overestimated and underestimated. Probably number 1 and 2 are exhausted as a Black woman and embarrassed as an American. And number 3, irritated that I still am expected to explain why I am opting out of the Pledge of Allegiance. Hey, I opt out of that one too. So I can relate. And then in all caps, sorrowful. Oh, I totally relate to that. I can
Wow.
empathize.
Thank you for taking that time and sharing that, Cole. And thank you, Monica, for reading that. I get it. I truly, truly get it. And all of that's understandable. So let's talk about something here. I will share with you um, that I have many conversations around race and gender differences, thousands of conversation actually. And that's not to brag, it's just that it's so necessary. And I've gotten very comfortable being uncomfortable with them that I want to make you guys uncomfortable being, I want you to know how to get comfortable with being uncomfortable having these conversations because they're so necessary and so beneficial. I will tell you, my white brothers and sisters share with me around this world that they too are embarrassed about what's happening and too feel powerless and helpless and sad and sorrowful. But together we can do this. We can change this world, and this is our moment and this is our time. Thank you all for sharing. I really, really appreciate that. I'm encouraged because we are all on the same page right now. And I also want to remind you of something that Benjamin Franklin said. You can read the screen, but I'm going to read it out loud. Justice will not be served until those who are unaffected are just as outraged as those who are. And what that says to me is that we can no longer be silent about the things that are going around us. And Toastmasters International will help us find that voice and orchestrate it. And I'm going to give you some tools this morning to help you be a little bit more comfortable about being uncomfortable having these conversations. And I promise you, if you trust yourself with that and trust those around you as you take these tools and practice these tools, use these tools, you will get even more power to have more conversations. All right. When I was district governor for Toastmasters International of Georgia, my platform was members matter. And as I realized we find ourselves in a state of confusion and divisiveness, every voice matters. And it also yields me saying that it not only does every voice matter, every voice must feel valued. Every individual needs to feel valued and respected. Now, I used to think as long as Sheila was agreeing with me that we would ride and die and we were good, that still can be true. But we really get the dynamics when she and I can disagree. I get a learning when we can disagree respectfully. And it's not about, it's about the disagreement, not about us. We do know how to disagree respectfully. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about. We are going to talk about race and gender, but I also just kind of want to lay the groundwork for what are differences. A lot of people look at just race, just gender. I started listing how, even at work, what are some differences? How do we show up different? We show up different with work experiences. I hear a lot, thinking style, age is a difference, sexual orientation is a difference. How we communicate makes us different. Certainly the obvious, the gender differences. We talked earlier, higher power, religion makes us different. How we work. I mean, COVID has changed my life. I am Miss Social Butterfly, and now I got to learn to have a party in my own home, party of one. So my whole working style has had to change. Culturally different. All of those things make a difference. What else are there differences other than just race? This is where you get to weigh in and help me out because we're going to build this thing out together. And if we plan this right, we can make this work where we can extend this out to our whole Toastmasters family. Anything on here that's not here that you think should be added that indicates a difference? I have educational background, disabilities, anything else? Okay, work ethic, that's, oh yeah, that I see that daily. Income levels, yeah, I think I put salaries, but that's good, yeah. Thank you for that. What else? You all are thinking real early in the morning on a Saturday morning. Thank you for that. Generation, differences in generational dynamics, quality of life, that's powerful. I'll look to add those as well. Very good. Very good. So I want you to start thinking about those. Oh yeah, political beliefs. Man, oh man, it was taboo to even talk about politics in the workplace, but this conversation, I mean, how do you not? It's all over, it's everywhere. However, because I know I can't bring politics into my workplace, well, I need, if we're going to bring it, I need to be able to talk about it where it brings us together, not separates us. I mean, I will tell you the big deal about whether you kneel during the national anthem or not. That became a big issue. And there were some folk who disagreed with the kneeling and alienated themselves in the workplace. But at the end of the day, don't do that. We still have a job to do. These businesses have to operate, and we are better together. We are better together. So thank you for those. I love the desires and core values. Those also are differences. So we can think about that. And as you think about adding to this list that I have here, we want to make sure that all of those differences are valued and respected. All right. And I mentioned, it was mentioned in my introduction that I am in the Chief Diversity Office. So I am going to hang that hat on AT&T. But again, this is not an AT&T presentation. What I will share with you that I think is keenly important as we go on through this discussion is let's make sure we understand what diversity and inclusion really is. You know, a lot of people say, you know, I'm sick of diversity. I'm sick of inclusion. I mean, what does that really mean anyway? The work, I believe, those who are doing it the right way, embrace diversity and inclusion as ensuring that no one is disadvantaged. It's not designed to advantage anyone or any segment. It's designed to ensure that no one is disadvantaged. So I want to make sure we're in alignment on what that definition, because from this point forward, that's how my brain sees diversity and inclusion. And this will help us talk through. So I mentioned earlier about the toolkit. I'm going to spend some time on conversations for conversation ground rules. This will get your power back. We said this workshop is named Awaken, as my nieces call me. Stay woke, auntie, stay woke. This will help you stay woke when you understand what are the ground rules when you start a real serious conversation. And there's 7 ground rules that I follow. And I'm going to ask that you embrace these, test them out, and we'll have an opportunity to do that 2 weeks from now. I also have some recommendations. I'm building a list of resources and videos and books, and I'm sure you can help add to it. Just as an aside, I'm reading right now, White Fragility. No, I do not get any cut from Robin DiAngelo on her book, but it's a heck of an education. I'm also reading a book by Jennifer Brown, How to Become an Inclusive Leader. Knowledge is power. So we're going to have to make sure that we're educating ourselves. All right. There's lots out there on the web place. We are doing, there's real power in terms of listening, understanding, and acting. And I started this journey at work and then took it off outside of work to get smarter about race and how we could achieve equality, understanding those differences and embracing those differences. There's several things out there. I'm just throwing this out, lots for you to see, but we started this from just searching what's some quality documents out there, what are some videos out there, how to get better, how to educate ourselves around race. If you're into movies, and I'm a movie buff, one thing I would love for you to see is Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. It's a story of justice and redemption. And Jamie Foxx, whom I love, he's out there, he's doing that. He does a great job in terms of depicting this true story. There's lots of readings out there that I'd like for you to tap into. And as you see what I have, feel free to recommend some other things, because it's not just Teresa's list. This is something that we can share among our each other. So let's just get into these conversation ground rules that I have found to absolutely change my life. So y'all got to take a quick breath, take a little sip of coffee. If you want to stand up, shake it out a little bit, because I really want to get into the power of these real quickly. And this is in preparation to a very difficult conversation. And these are specifically important when you have a conversation about race or differences or gender or ethnicity. No matter how crazy it sounds, no matter how weird you think the other individual is, assume positive intent. I need to say that again. Assume positive intent. Even if you know they're coming at you sideways, assume positive intent. And what that will do to your brain is hear what they really mean. Because oftentimes, it's not what's said, it's the unsaid. But if you're already amped up and already made an opinion, you're rejecting that and you'll miss it. So I want you, no matter how crazy it sounds, how just totally opposite in your thinking and your belief, assume what you're hearing, that the individual saying it means well. That's going to take a lot, because some people already know, well, I already know how she thinks. No, you don't. You think we do. And even if you do know, this is an opportunity for you both to learn. I also want you to, as you embrace the notion of real candid conversations and conversations on race, know that as you go in, this is a dialogue. It is not a debate. I used to be captain of my debate team, and man, it was all about the win. I win, Jim loses. I'm going to make that point. I want to win, and yes. This conversation is not about that. It's about engaging in meaningful dialogue, such that if I never get to agree with Jim, guess what? Through the dialogue, I get to understand him, and he gets to understand me. And what does that do magically? It diffuses all that other stuff that we have around each other, about each other, and we can go work well together. That's what it does. So remember, one of the ground rules have to be, and this is very important, engage in dialogue, not debate. I'm reminded of my big mama, and for those who don't know what a big mama is, it's your grandmother who can overrule your mother. And big mama used to say, don't just, people are dying to be right, do right. And so it's not about the win. There's also an important ground rule to have these race conversations is demonstrate cultural humility. Now that was a new one for me, because what does that really mean? be humble in the fact that I'm not representing the whole Black race because I'm Black and I'm female. Um, Everybody, regardless as to where they come from, they have a different culture. They have a different that they come from different places. And I need to be humble about that. Uh, I should not be quick to tell my LGBTQ brothers and sisters, I know what you're talking about. I don't. So I have to humble myself to hear them out, because every story is different. But one thing we do know for sure, Michael, is everybody has a story. That's my Michael Johnson there. How are you doing, Michael? I can't start calling out everybody because I'm loving y'all. Thank you. Another ground rule is we must be open, we must be transparent, and we must be willing to make a mistake. Research shows that we don't have these conversations, Toastmasters, because what? We do not want to say stuff stupid. And guess what? You're going to say something crazy here. You really are. But what we're going to do first off, assume positive intent. It wasn't meant to harm. It wasn't meant to harm. It's to help. And here's what this says, translated Teresa Sproul Chicago style. Let's cut each other some slack. Let me not be so amped up before you even come to me. Just humble yourself for the spirit of listening, to basically allow people to say what they think, be transparent in the moment, whether you agree with them or not. And then if you find something that you've learned that's different, be willing to acknowledge that mistake. And herein was my largest lesson. And Perrin knows about this one. I have grown to become a humble listener. Prior to this, and even when I was district governor, I mean, I could finish your sentence. I knew what you were going to say. I was going to finish it. I now want to, you talk, I listen. I talk, you listen. It's really that quick, that simple. And then also, when you engage in these dialogues, you have to agree that this is a safe space. And I didn't say this at the beginning, but I'm asking for it now. What I'm saying here, anything that I say is not to offend, it's to lift up and to help. And so we got to create a safe space where people can be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's where the cutting each other a little slack comes in. And then here's the last one in terms of the ground rule. Commit to having conversations that matter by truly speaking up. Only by speaking up can we bridge the gender, racial, and ethnic divides. To be silent truly is to consent to the things that are happening that are also wrong around us. And we can make that difference. Now, I know I've talked through those. It's not new news in most cases here, but I'm hoping it's resonated with your spirit such that you can find the courage to have more conversations. I'm reminded of Dr. Martin Luther King when he said that people fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. That cannot be the case for our powerful Toastmasters in District 44. So with that, I'm going to stop and I'm going to see if anyone's willing to share an experience that you truly are comfortable sharing that will help give your peers a better perspective about what's happening in our communities and how you're really feeling about it. So I'm changing the dialogue just a little bit. And yes, ma'am, yes, sir, this is practice, and there will be more.
Teresa, I would like to speak. This is
Yes,
Octavia.
please do.
A couple of weeks ago, I work at a school that's a early education school for babies from 6 weeks up to 5K. And I have coworkers that are of all nationalities, and the school is all nationalities as well. And it's a school that's located in Stockbridge, Georgia. A lot of you know where that is in Henry County. But in the meantime, I had a coworker to come to me a couple of weeks ago, and she said this was before the um, event took place at the Capitol. And she said to me, you might want to go and put gas in your car. You might want to go and get money from the bank. You might want to have enough food to last a couple of weeks. So she was of the Caucasian persuasion, and I listened to her, and I said, well, what is going on? She says, well, there's going to be martial law. I says, oh, okay. And so I just left it where it was. And I listened to her, and I shared that with some family members, of course, but no one else, you know. And so when she came back to me a couple of days later, you know, and I told her at that time, I believe in a higher power, and I know that he's in control of everything and everybody. And that was my comment to her. So she came back to me about a week or two later, and you know, we're pretty good friends and stuff. And she says, well, what I thought was going to happen didn't happen. I said, it's okay because I know who's in control. And that was my statement to her. So we have agreed to disagree on certain things along the way, and along with also taking the vaccine. She told me, oh, you're going to come back walking funny and talking funny. I said, that's okay. But I know that I'm covered by the blood. And so we laughed about that. And so she came back to me a couple of days later and she says, are you okay? I said, I'm fine. I said, we can agree to disagree, can't we?
Love that. Thank
So
you for
that's
sharing
my
that,
statement.
Octavia, number
You're
one.
quite
And
welcome.
thank you for the power. You've already witnessed the fact that just having a conversation, while it was awkward, you already have your conviction, as does this individual. You weren't trying to be right. You were just letting her know you're good, you're covered, you're good. What I would encourage you to do the next time, since you both have agreed to disagree, and the idea is value each other in that. You honor each other by being that respectful. You will probably never align on certain issues. But what I'm going to also ask you to do, since you now have this foundation set with this particular individual, I'm going to ask that you lean in a little bit more and do some more listening, because you're going to learn a whole lot more about how they're thinking than you're going to get by sharing what you are. You already know you're solid. You want to understand what are other people thinking? How are they thinking it? And why are they thinking that way? So keep going. I'm proud of what you've done. Thank you for sharing that. You're on your road to having even greater crucial conversations. Thank you, Octavia. Anybody else want to weigh in? Because it's important to acknowledge just where you are right now.
I do. Can you hear me?
How about that? Yes, we can, my love. Share.
So,
Thank you.
Ironically, what Octavia shared is in large part a conversation I've been having with other people of color about the dynamic that surrounds both issues that you brought up earlier, one being the pandemic and one being the revolutions that are occurring. And what I would say about that is that there is stark difference, just in my experience in the Black community, on both of those topics in terms of how we should be responding. It is also when the person that I'm conversing with is white, it still adds a layer, and I can't always articulate. So I guess what I'm saying is, if a Black woman had said to me what Octavia's coworker said to her, I would have agreed. And in fact, I may have said very similar things, like I had a plan for my family about if all the technology is killed before the inauguration, what we're going to do, what I needed them to write down, the whole business. So still though, if a white woman had approached me and said exactly the same way, the same thing, it would have felt threatening. And I think that's a very difficult thing to articulate. And so if people say to me, well, you know, what's wrong with you that you would react differently to a Black woman than to a white woman when the exact same thing was said? sometimes it takes me a moment to find some words. And so I get defensive because I'm like, okay, you're saying I have some ill motive when I have every reason to respond differently.
Hence,
I don't have time to lay it out for you in a 1-minute conversation.
yeah.
That's
Thank
my
you for that. I appreciate your transparency there. And I will also say, in defense for my white brothers and sisters, and they're not that they need any defense. That's why many don't have the real conversations that they want to have with us, because the number one, those who really care about you don't want to offend you, don't want to hurt you.
Mhm.
Number two, who the hell signs up to be rejected? Who signs up for that one? Not me.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to be rejected. So this is where I'm going to ask you, Cole, and I look forward. I hope you have on your calendar February 27th, because we're going to do some practice work. I'm going to have you jumpstart this. This is where that assume positive intent, and that will help you blur those lines. So you won't say, if a Black woman said this to me, I'm okay. That's your truth. If a white woman said this to me, that's your truth. But what I'm offering, would you embrace the possibility that if you assume no matter who shared information with you, would you assume the possibility that when you assume positive intent, it will change how your brain registers that? That's been proven through research. And that's why I offer assume positive intent. And you will find that maybe they are not. And if that's the case, that's a mental note, but you gotta go in assuming positive intent. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that,
Mhm.
Cole. I really appreciate that. Let me hear from some others.
Teresa, my name is Arthur, and can you hear me?
Yes.
I
All
can hear
right.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Arthur. And are you driving? Oh no, Arthur, you best, I see your stuff
Yes,
moving.
I'm
I hope,
driving, but my phone is in a cradle.
okay, be
I'm a
careful.
commercial driver, and
Okay.
Sheila knows who I am. I am a member of Epic, and I would have to, and I understand both a lot of what you're saying. I've experienced a lot of it. First of all, being born in a business family, and that's well known around the world. Our upbringing was a tad bit different. But what really was the game changer for me was serving in the Air Force for 4 years. Because what I came to understand is that my upbringing was different than what I encountered in the Air Force, but yet it allowed me to see how people really live, not what was created that I saw on television. Later in life, I've now had, and I do have friendship and communication with people of all nationalities. And what I have found is that um, we allow, when we have to deal with it from a spiritual side, where is their spirit and where is my spirit? Because our spirit is the true indicator of where our mind and our heart is. And so I have some white friends that have, we talk and have deep dive conversations. And some have said, Arthur, we like having you around because you're genuine, you're authentic, yet you listen. And that to me has been one of the greatest of all encounters, is to have those types of relationships that I did not experience growing up as a child, because I'll be 64 next Sunday. So in the 60s and the 70s, we were still pretty much in divided environments. I stayed in my neighborhood. I didn't have any Caucasian classmates. But
Yeah, yeah.
after graduating high school and going into Air Force, I began to have some of those, but it really did not come
Wow.
full circle until the last 10 years. But I'm thankful that I have those, and I'm fine with it. I don't run from them. I actually tend to run to them and know that
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely.
okay. It's okay to be okay. And
Yes.
be able to listen to them and communicate. And that's another thing I love about Toastmasters. It sharpens your communication skills so
Yes,
that you
yes,
lose the auras and you feel me's, and you are enunciating and having diction and clarity of speech and clearness of thought. That
yes,
changes how they even respond to us. And
absolutely.
so that's all I'm gonna say around that. But thank you, and I definitely plan, whether I'm driving or not, to be here for the other sessions.
All right, because we're going to do some practice work. And Arthur, thank you so much. And thank your family for helping my hair out. So it's a little different from the picture that my photo you saw where it didn't have your product in it in that photo that you in my flyer, but I have it now. And
Yep.
I think I look pretty fly. So thank you
You
so
do,
much.
and you know,
I
Teresa.
really,
Let me say this one quick thing. My uncle, who was the founder, he made this statement, and I was a child, and I still remember it. He says, "I believe in desegregation, and here's how he defined it: you put all good of all nationalities together, and you put all not so goods
Mhm.
of all nationalities together. That's good segregation, because
Yeah.
the reality is that across the board, you have good and bad in every nationality."
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. You have a beautiful family, and you see, Arthur has just demonstrated the power of family, the different belief systems, different values. But at the end of the day, we don't get to embrace them by being in our silos. I'm going to offer that I'm going to suggest that we purposely get outside our echo chambers. And Arthur, you gave a good example of that. Uh, I think I'm pretty cool, but if all I hang around is people who are just as cool as I think I am, and they look like me and think like me, I do not grow. I'm reminded of my great friend and mentor, Les Brown, when he said to me, Teresa Sprawlin, what other people think of you is none of your business. You need to do what you're on purpose to go do. And if you're the smartest one in your circle, you need to go get another circle. That's from Les Brown. I'm blowing a kiss at him. Thank you, sir. That other circle should include people who look different from me. I need my white brothers and sisters in my circle. I need people who don't believe in a higher power in my circle. I need people who are not technology savvy in my circle. I need those who are in my circle. You get it. That enriches us. Otherwise, what you do is stay stuck. And we are too right. I mean, we have way too much work to do to stay stuck. Thank you for all of that. I think we have time for one more. I'm trying to find Jim.
Miss Sheila has her hand raised. Go on ahead. Sheila?
Yes, Teresa, and I'm going to make this quick because we do want to reserve time for the Q&A at the end. Just going back to your slide when it talks about what's happening in our communities impacting the workplace. There was a segment on CBS this week about race and inequality. And believe it or not, the question took me back 30 years because they were dealing with unconscious bias in the workplace, where Black people are not given a path to be promoted, or they're not hired because their resume has not been whitewashed, i.e., if you mention that you're a member of the NAACP, if you show that you graduated from a historically Black college, chances are you will not be hired, or if you're hired in a entry-level position. And I'm wondering if what's happening in the communities is impacting the workplace, or is it the workplace that's impacting communities, or maybe a little both? Because as Arthur said, there's a spiritual element in this, that the same thing that I had to fight against 30 years ago, people are still talking about this week. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yes. Yeah, let me unpack it quickly, and then let me promise to build upon that in 2 weeks when you come back, because that's key and core. The reason we're still having this conversation, in my opinion, is because it never got fixed in the first place. We covered it up. Remember, I said you can't fix what you don't acknowledge.
Mhm.
And already the second I start talking systemic racism, definitely in the workplace, that's a trigger for a lot of people. I start saying the word white privilege. Now I've offended my white brothers and sisters because they went, wait a minute, I'm not privileged. I work hard for everything I get. And yes, I get it. But at the end of the day, we have to acknowledge the system is broken. The system is flawed. And this is our opportunity to build it, build it, build it better than what you experienced in the past. I think intentions were honorable, but the follow through sucked. So we're going to have to take that and build more on that. I have not heard from not one of my white brothers and sisters out there other than Jim.
I was just gonna bring that up. I was gonna bring up Roxanne had her hand up. So Roxanne, if you'll unmute.
I love you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Because we are
Well,
all in this together.
So I have two things then, since Sheila mentioned that. It's interesting, maybe we call it reverse discrimination, but I know that a lot of my white male friends are now feeling challenged, I guess you'd say, or threatened because they feel like jobs are trying to promote more diversity and now ignoring them because they're a white male. So that's interesting to understand the white male's perspective also. And then the thing I was going to ask about as well is this whole political divide. When did it become, so wrong to be a Republican or a Democrat? And why can't we, get along with everybody? I have tendencies of both. I don't claim that I'm a Republican and I don't claim that I'm a Democrat, but I have family members who are very strongly on one side or the other. And it's very hard to have those conversations with them without being judged, or, they feel very strongly about their political party and aren't willing to see the other side.
Yeah. Oh, that's valid. And I know I'm coming up for time, which means y'all got to come back in 2 weeks. I will tell you, when did it become wrong to be Republican, Democrat? When did it become wrong that we couldn't acknowledge what everybody really felt, whether we agreed or not? I think it became wrong, Roxanne, when we remained silent. We saw this stuff happening and we turned the other cheek. We did not want to see what was happening. We didn't want to acknowledge it. And so it built up. Hence, we're in this moment. That's why silence no longer work. That's why I'm advocating that every voice matters. And Toastmasters, we should speak up and bring this family together. We are and can be the model, the poster child, if you will, for what inclusive leadership really looks like. Because we do have the most diverse network on the planet. I mean, we're from all different cultures, all different countries, all different political beliefs, families, the whole 9 yards. So thank you for sharing that. I believe it all happened when we decided it was okay to keep our mouths shut because we were too doggone polite to disagree with anybody, but too doggone polite to bring it up because we didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, or basically too selfish or too scared to just get into a confrontation. I don't mind a battle every now and then, but many people don't live like that. They don't want to argue with anybody. So, we have to be respectful of that. I love this input. You see why this conversation is important. So thank you for sharing and just being willing to be candid in all of this. I'm getting a sign here. Let me make sure I can move to this next. As I close this out, because I already think I'm close to my time here, just a reminder, I do want you to check your blind spots. We all have them. I used to say, I don't see color. I don't see, yes, you do. It's been researched, it's been proven by research. When you meet a new person, the first thing you see is the person's race. You identify with that. That doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means it's so. So I don't honor an individual by saying I don't see what, I want you to know that I'm Black. I want you to recognize that I'm female. But we now need to learn the language that honors that and lift people up and bring them into the fold, not away. I also want you come prepared in 2 weeks, having a better understanding around those conversation ground rules. Each one is important. I do also want you to engage in meaningful dialogues. Don't get into this or that, tit for tat. Lean in. And sometimes it's not about you saying how you feel. Just learn what the other person feels. That invites more dialogue. And you aren't going to boil this ocean in one full sweep. We can't eat this elephant unless we do it one bite at a time. That's how we do this. And as you build on these successes, we want to share our successes and pass it on. So I'm reminding you that we have a workshop on the 27th, 10:15. I plan to lead that discussion. We also plan to get into some breakout sessions. It should be fun. I thank you for allowing yourselves to be vulnerable now. And I'm going to thank you in advance for allowing yourself to be vulnerable then. Nobody will go away mad. Nobody will go away harmed. It's all to help. Okay. I'm going to take you through a little exercise called Dine, more to follow on that next 2 weeks. And I'll end with this as we open up for real Q&A. All that we've talked about today, it's hard. It's hard to have conversations. It's hard to have conversations when you know it's not about race. It's hard work. And it also requires heart work. Those two go hand in hand. But when you align with the hard work, you're willing to do the diligence, to learn the language, to bring people in, and you lead with your heart. I mean well, I want to do better. Help me understand. Folk naturally lean into you. That's when you can truly talk about it, do something about it, be about it, and make the difference that we expect to see. Thank you all so much for your attention. Now, I'm going to stop talking and turn it back over to our MC.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. Boy, did she come with both of her suitcases packed full and beaming over the side. Teresa, there is none other like you other than the Lord. Okay, let me put it in perspective, but seriously, you truly have tapped into the heartbeat of what's going on, not only in our communities, but in our nation as well as the world. I can't imagine how we could have gone through all of this and not been able to come together in the true dialogue of conversations. But I don't want it to be all about me or about Teresa. Let's let everyone chime in on this. I did get I got a question, but the person wants to remain anonymous. But if you have any questions, please put them in the chat room so that we can, or Teresa can address them. The one question that okay, let me find it. It looks like it's, okay. I guess this was back earlier in your presentation. It said, when having conversations about race, people come to the table with preconceived ideas and biases. Is the goal to change those opinions or agree to disagree? Wow.
Ooh, thank you for that question. Because I told you already, I come fight. I wanted to be right. I didn't want to just do right. I want to change your opinion, Sheila. You didn't see it the way I see it. So my job was to wrestle you down to the ground. And now you see it my way. And I'm happy. You're mad as hell, but I'm happy. Not. You still can hold tight to your belief system. I'm not trying to change that. And please embrace your culture. You believe what you believe and how you believe it. But what I do know for sure, when you hear me out, you naturally learn something, and this brain disarms something here, and it opens up your heart to see something just a little different. That's all. So no, not the goal to change, because that's like debating. I gotta have a winner and there's gotta be a loser. There's gotta be somebody right and there's gotta be somebody wrong. This is just to lean in and hopes that you will see a different perspective. You don't have to agree with that different perspective. You just have to see it. And many of us are blind to the different perspectives out there.
Wow. So is that something, a tool that you might be able to further discuss on the 27th when we come back? Because I know people can hear it, but sometimes they need to have it modeled.
Absolutely, absolutely. I will make a note in terms of how I modify such that we can have that, because your point, go back to, I said it earlier in this whole dialogue, you can't fix what we don't acknowledge. And I do think that's why there's so much divide. You already know that you aren't going to change my mind, so why bother? And what have you done is alienated me when I could be a good resource to you. And so, yeah, we're leaning in on that further. Thank you for that question, Mr. or Ms. Anonymous. I really appreciate that.
Mhm.
What else?
Monica, do you see anything else in the chat?
Let's see. Somebody says seek win-win. I don't see any questions so far.
Well,
But
Monica, I'm jumping in on you, and please forgive me on that. I just see what you just, I'm just seeing my chat box here. I don't have to agree, but I do want to understand that is exactly where we are. And that's biblical. And I'm not trying to thump the Bible here for anybody. Seek first to understand, then be understood. And that's the real power that we can unleash by leaning into others and hearing different perspectives. Powerful. Thank you.
Emily says, looking back on my youth in rural and mostly white Indiana, I can see that I was taught a whitewashed version of history. It's sometimes scary being vulnerable these days, as I know I've soaked up misinformation and have huge gaps when it comes to the history and culture of other groups. I find that in getting involved with local government, civic and volunteer organizations, I'm learning by doing, as we do in Toastmasters. That said, I truly appreciate this opportunity to broach these difficult topics and the tools provided to do this important work. Can you recommend some more books or documentaries to help someone like me learn more about the real history and to aid me in my quest to find and address my knowledge gaps and misinformation?
First off, I want to applaud you for your quest, because that's knowledge is power. Again, Big Mama taught me that when you know better, you get to do better. So thank you for being on a mission to understand, to learn. And yeah, I have a laundry list of recommendations. I just lost the name of that individual, but I'll come prepared in a couple of weeks to have more recommendations. And I hope to have a one sheet, Roxanne and Sheila, where I can have my Teresa Sprawling list of favorites. Again, not that it's all, it's a good start. So I'm happy to share that. And thanks for leaning in.
Teresa, I see that Tony has said addressing the illusion of inclusion, but not to be the one person in the Teresa Sprawling Symphony. I just want to remind everyone that her book has been 3 years in the making. So when Awaken shows up, we will all run out to get it. I am waiting on the edge of my seat for it.
Thank you for that, Sheila. And now I'm woke, as my nieces say. I gotta finish it. You can't start a commitment and then just pray on it for 3 years. He's already given me the answer. And now, though, what I have to publicly acknowledge, the passion has to align with the moment. I'm in the moment where the time is truly right, that I absolutely feel compelled to speak to you all. I didn't care if there was 2 people on this call or 2,000 people. The time is now. So I have embraced the moment, Sheila. So thank you for that encouragement, and you will see something without a doubt.
I have a private share. If I have no impact on your belief system, you will not feel inspired to act in the advocacy of the marginalized. So I can't see the absence of influencing others as productive in changing anything. Ooh, that's powerful.
Oh, let me say, I like the fact that this person was transparent to say that they can't see it, but it's there. I want you to trust. That's what I believe in faith. You might not see it right now, but the mere fact that they understand that there is a difference and we're respecting each other and valuing each other for those differences, they don't have to invite you to dinner. They don't have to ask you out to a movie. Well, we can't go to those places anyway right now. We're in a COVID state, right? They don't have to do any of those things. All they have to do is, as you open up, you in turn give them permission to open up as well, and you learn more. So it's not about trying to influence them, it's trying to raise and elevate your awareness. Because I know some folk that are going to be just how they are now and forevermore. You'll know that too as you engage in dialogue. But if you never engage in a dialogue, you won't even have that as a data point. So it's not all about I put that influence as a win or lose. It's not that situation. It's about seeking first to understand. And then that gives you more data to know where you want to now spend your energy. I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little stretch for a lot of folk, but that's the real magic thing.
Teresa, you first gave this presentation, a form of it, in our club meeting at Epic Orders. But for the sake of everyone who's on this, in this meeting this morning, can you demonstrate what you just said? I believe you called it the lean in. The lean in.
For that. Yes, 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 yes. Because I'm already, and I hope that I'm remembering this, but it's my truth. And Cole, I thank you for your perspective. That's why these conversations are powerful. We're now trying to influence. I'm not trying to influence you. No, ma'am. I do want to touch your heart. I want you to know there's a possibility out there that we can be better together. And I want to humble myself so that you'll know that I'm an advocate, not a foe. And when you do that, that is impact. That is creating a change. That is influence. And the lean in part, I may not even understand what you're saying. I may not, and this may be the case in the comment I see in the chat. It may be that case, but all I need to do is just lean in a little closer, just to let you know I'm listening. I hear you. I may not get it right now. Just hang in there with me. I'm leaning in, I'm listening to you. I want to understand. And then by me genuinely doing that, me being transparent with that, you in turn, whatever it is your agenda was in the start, you now see that I'm being transparent, and it gives your heart and your head permission to do the same.
Wonderful.
May I share a personal story, Ms. Teresa?
Absolutely, my love. And thank you so much, Monica, for your help in all of this. Yes.
You're very welcome. I remember a friend of mine she has since passed, but she was a kindergarten teacher and was dealing with, unruly children all day long. And her children were a little bit older. They were teenagers when she got back into the job market and became a kindergarten teacher. So when I remember being home with her one day, and she said to her teenage daughter, "I have been dealing with unruly, insensitive, self-centered people all day long. Can I please get some grace from somebody who I love and that loves me?" And I loved that metaphor for the way that that I describe my relationship, my interracial relationships with my white friends, because I've been dealing with microaggressions and people who don't know what I've been dealing with, and self-centered and self-navel gazing all day long. Can I please get some grace from somebody that loves me and that I love? Please don't let you be the one that exhausts me too, as in also. And sometimes making a joke about it allows people to see that I'm not attacking you,
Yes.
but I'm responding to me feeling attacked all day long. And I need you to be a safe space for me to let it down.
Oh, I love that. That's quite clever. In fact, laughter is medicine for the soul. When people find, because there is, and Sheila and Perrin knows this, there's a very serious on purpose side to me. But when I allow myself to laugh at myself and all the greatness and the failures and the flaws, guess what that does? It gives others permission to do the same. And it disarms them trying to be like me or do something different to one up me. I'm not competing. We all on this journey here to be better and do better. So I love you for recognizing the power of being authentic and acknowledging just how you feel. And here's what I'll wrap around that whole statement. And thanks for sharing. Have you noticed when you share something, people tend to make it all about them? It's not about you, boo boo. It's not about you. It's about the moment. It's about the experience. And so when you can just personalize it, again, it allows people to know you are not attacking them. You are not trying to be divisive or just a contrarian by nature. You're trying to learn. And so I'm going to stick to that story. Seek first to understand, and that bring people closer and closer together. But the power of the ability to laugh at ourselves is a humbling experience. And it has benefited me quite well. And meaning in this house, while I'm being sequestered, I have laughed at myself many times.
Mhm.
Teresa, I have a question, or really a comment that
Hey,
possibly
Karen.
you can address. Certainly in the wake of George Floyd and all the incidents over the past summer, corporate America all of a sudden began to change its tune. And now they want to empathize with what's going on with Black and Brown and minority employees. I work for a major corporation. Week after week, we were having brown bags discussing the issue, even senior leadership acknowledging the errors of their ways, looking at their senior leadership staff saying, well, we do not have enough diversity on our senior leadership staff. That was this summer. And just through the change of seasons, conversations have now stopped.
Mhm.
And so, yes, I get it. Everyone wants to speak out and have these discussions when those unfortunate situations are occurring. But once the dust has settled, you no longer hear about what we can do to correct the situation. And we talk about what we can do to change. I think we need to have continuous conversation. Yes, we've talked about these issues. We've talked about these issues in the 60s. We've talked about these same issues in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And here we are, 20,
Still talking.
we're still talking about them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
address that.
Go ahead. I know that was, yeah.
No,
I
I'm
get
just
it. And it's
asking you to
frustrating.
address that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and you're absolutely right. We got to acknowledge this is not new news. Black people and brown people have been disadvantaged and mistreated for years and years and years. Here's what I think is different. More of my white brothers and sisters are leaning in. They get it. And it was something, unfortunately, that took place in those 8 minutes and 46 seconds as the world watched a human being's life being snatched away with no remorse, no thinking, no feeling. Even people around them were numb to what was actually happening before our eyes. That was the awakening. And while I know there had to have been some things like that that happened back in the day, Perrin, this people can't get out of their heads. Whether you're black, brown, white, yellow, red, we all were impacted. And we all know in our hearts that that was not the right thing to do. And so to sit by quietly is no longer an option. It's no longer an option. So here's what I do know. If we do not seize the moment now, 20 years from now, my grandsons will still be talking about it. That's why I volunteered to let's speak up, let's speak out. This thing is not perfect, but let's start these conversations. Let's learn how to lean in with each other and get stronger. You know the magic word, synergy. Well, you were great and on your own by your own self, parent. I know this to be true. I think I'm great and wonderful by myself. But buddy, when the two of us get together, and then we bring in Sheila and Roxanne and Monica and Jim and Cole and Linda and Michael. Oh my God. The power behind that. What I offer, and I am on a soapbox right now, and I'm getting emotional about it because this is our moment to make the difference. Many of my white brothers and sisters sat quietly because they did not want to be embarrassed. And yes, I do know some of us made folk feel bad about how they lived, how they thought, and I do agree. Privilege, when I've had to scratch and scrape for everything I have, don't make me the bad guy. I didn't do anything. I didn't own any slaves. I didn't do anything. We somehow need to change the language such that we can make our folk lean in further so we can be a help, not a hindrance. And so the moment now, parent, feels different for me because it is so in your face. For us to ignore this and turn our cheek, you're right, 50 years from now, 20 years from now, 100 years from now, nothing cold will have changed. But the appeal I'm making on this call is that that change has to start right here with you. And then you pass it on to somebody else. And that whole ripple effect, that's the movement we're trying to create. And it's all about the power of conversation. I'm still going to walk away. When I hang up this call, I'm still going to be a Black female in the struggle. But I feel like I'm leaning in with a lot more people who better understand me. And as a lot of you better understand me, you're going to embrace me and bring me closer into stuff that will help create the impacts we know we need to see.
Teresa, you said something that triggered something within me. You mentioned about slavery. And I'm wondering, and I'm only wondering this because I used to work in the marriage ministry at my church, and I found that a lot of people found it difficult to forgive their spouse because of a past trauma in their life. How much is the impact or the presumption of slavery? How traumatized is Black America on that we can't get over that? And at the same time, with our white brothers and sisters, our Jewish brothers and sisters, all of the different cultures, everyone has had some kind of trauma that has happened in their past. How can we acknowledge that, heal that, in order to get a conversation to do it better, to make it better?
Oh, that's pretty powerful. And I've had many conversations with, again, my white brothers and sisters. I have a beautiful Jewish friend. I mean, she said, "Hey, we survived the Holocaust. I mean, you guys seem to not be able to get over all of this. What's up with that?" I'm paraphrasing. However, that was the gist. And I do believe it was and has been and is, and I think this speaks to the point that Perrin made. The harm, the damage that was done to Black Americans was not only based in the slavery aspects, we ended up with policies that supported that. A Black man serving in the Army, come out after serving well his country, had earned enough money to buy a home for his family, could not buy into a certain neighborhood back in the day. There were laws that a real estate agent would literally lose his or her license to sell to a man who has served his country. That's why it's so long. And you don't get over that stuff overnight, because that was somebody's grandparent. That was somebody's great grandparent who tried to do all those things, and it didn't work. We have been enslaved. We have been hurt. And that's why I'm asking that we as a race of people lean in a lot more to seek more understanding, express that frustration and anger, but be a part of building something new because we can reform these policies. There are books on the Georgia law that would be appalling to everybody on this call. And I know we vote, but we need to vote more to get those things off the books. So it's going to take place in heart, in the hard work, also in policy reform. And some of our people, Sheila, we're just going to have to see that they are being heard. That we've been down this road before, many of us. They've seen it. The talk sounds good. And to Perrin's point, the conversation started well, and then it stopped. So what's happening? What's happening? I'm leaning on you to continue to have these conversations, whether they want them or not. If you do it respectfully, it's beautiful. And that's what we'll continue to do in 2 weeks. I think I'm just about out of time. I appreciate you leaning in and listen. I know whether you agree with what I've said or not, you are now smarter than you were before you joined this call. You now are more empowered than you were before you joined this call. And now you're more keenly aware that there's a heck of a lot more work for us to go do. And we can and we will do this together. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Much love to Sheila, Perrin, Monica, Jim, keeping this thing rolling here. Roxanne, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the district. Those of you on the call who have shared your personal stories and poured into us, that's an education that we will value and will be better for it. Please come prepared in 2 weeks to do some more work because there's much work to do. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today. I am so grateful and I look forward to what we have ahead that we will do together. Thank you all.
And before we end and before I bring on our PQD, Roxanne, to see if there's anything else that she would like to leave with us, I can't stop without saying thank you, Teresa, for giving us this opportunity to take advantage of and to glean from your wealth of knowledge and information. You've given us some great takeaways for this week. Lean in, lead with your heart. You broke down the definition of a diversity, so make sure that we're all at the same table. Do want to know if there is one thing, Teresa, that we can do just this week, or should I say in the next 2 weeks before we come back together again on the 27th, to make some type of positive action on racial justice.
What I would recommend is that you, in your mind, stay woke, stay woke. The idea of tolerating anybody, and I want you to check your blind spots. That's what I want to prepare you for the next 2 weeks. Start checking your blind spots. You're going to start to think, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I saw her and I didn't like her when I just saw her. That's a blind spot. Why not? You haven't spoken to her. You don't know her. You don't know what she's been going through. What's your problem? Start checking those blind spots. That's going to sensitize you to the biases we have, and we all have them. I've heard people say, oh, I'm not. Yes, we are. Every last one of us on this call, we have our biases. We have not shown up in honor. So check those. The other thing I would have you do is ensure that you're having conversations where you're not just tolerating people. This changed my life. This worked at home. I'm a happily divorced woman because I learned the power of not just being tolerated. I got out of a marriage because I was just being tolerated. I was tolerated. I want to be celebrated. I don't want to be tolerated. And I would still be married right now, being tolerated and not happy. Find somebody over the next couple of weeks that you can celebrate, that you just tolerated all along because they didn't look how you wanted to look, they didn't sound how you wanted. Find something to celebrate that individual and watch the change that happens automatically. Do those things and you're setting yourselves up for success in the workshop that we'll have in 2 weeks.
Wow. Check your blind spots and celebrate someone. Don't just tolerate them, celebrate them. Past District Governor Teresa Sprawling, DTM, and Boss Lady Extraordinaire. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And
thank you all. Have a great rest of your weekend. Be safe.
okay.
Cover up, mask up, duke up. We're in this together. Much love to you all.
Well, speaking of duking up, before we leave, we're going to bring PQD Roxanne Rush with the 1-2 punch.
Well, I heard Teresa speak several months ago, and I knew immediately that we needed this in District 44. So thank you very much to Epic Orders Advanced Club, and especially Teresa, for opening our eyes, hopefully opening our ears, and definitely for us being able to share our voice. This is something that District 44, the United States, the whole world needs to have these conversations. So thank you for sharing that with us. We will make sure that we have the recording on our website by Monday. I will make that a priority. Please share it with your friends, your family, your coworkers, your other club members, and then invite them to come Saturday the 27th to have these conversations because it is so valuable. What I love about Toastmasters is our diversity and being able to share with each other all the cultures that we celebrate. And so, it's just a wonderful thing that we have as Toastmasters. So thank you again, Teresa and Epic Orators. We sincerely appreciate all of your hard work today.
And I'm sorry, Madam Roxanne, I wanted you to be the last word, but I would be remiss if I did not allow the president and fearless leader of Epic Orders Advanced Toastmasters, past district governor, DTM Karen Shannon, to say a word to us.
Well, certainly. And of course, to Roxanne, I would like to thank you as well as Karen and our district leaders for affording Epic Orders the opportunity to sponsor this workshop. Certainly, when we heard Teresa speak several months ago, at the end of our meeting, Sheila and I said, well, wow, this is a conversation we really need to get the district involved. And so I am just so grateful that you guys were receptive to having this workshop. And to those that are on the call today, I'm truly hopeful, and I know, I shouldn't be hopeful, I know you acquired something out of Teresa's presentation. So Teresa, I love you. For those who do not know, I was an area director under Teresa, in fact, her area director of the year. And so I've always have admired her, not only as a leader, but as a person. And she really has a genuine spirit, and which really comes across. And so thank you very much, Teresa. And to Sheila, Jim, and Ms. Agandu or Dr. Agandu, I want to thank you guys as well for your support in ensuring that this went off without any problems. So with that said, certainly, as I always say, look at Advanced Toastmasters Club. I know we have several Advanced Toastmasters Club. She was laughing. I always have to plug membership. As Teresa said, I learned it from her. Membership is the key to success for all of our clubs. You have to build your membership. So I'm not only trying to build membership for Epic Orders, but for all the Advanced Toastmasters clubs. So if you are a member of a club, I encourage you, look at Epic Orders, look at North Gwinnett Advanced Toastmasters Club, look at Power Speakers, look at Jokers Wow. And we're getting ready to start, has it charted yet? A 6th Advanced Toastmasters Club in our district. Please, please, please consider joining an advanced club. It will just take your Toastmasters experience to the next level. So with that said, once again, thank you guys. And I'll turn it back over to you, Sheila.
All right, then. All minds free and clear, as we say in church. We hope that you are satisfied with what you've seen for the first part of Awaken. And we invite you to, again, come back on February 27th. And each person, all 39 of you on this meeting, I challenge you to bring one other person, whether it's one other person in your club or one other person in your family. I even challenge you to be bold enough to bring somebody from your workplace. Let's continue this talk on how to move from tolerance to understanding. Thank you all, and
guys,
have
thank you.
a wonderful afternoon.
And happy Valentine's Day, ladies.
Oh, yes. Happy Valentine's. Galentine's.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's. Yeah,
That
and
is
I
on a
heard it-
beautiful Valentine's Day date.
Wonderful. Okay, see you all in 2 weeks.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Everyone be blessed.
All right,
You
take care.
too.
Thank you.